I'm going to call the meeting to order. Does everybody hear me?
Page is fine.
Yes,
All right, we'll open with the public hearing on the store by the name of Tess on Main Street in Narrowsburg. Any public comment?
Hi, Mr. Jackson, I'm here.
I see you, Tess.
Hi, thank you, hi.
I don't know if everybody realizes, but Jim and I gave her a temporary C of O so she could open up early because we didn't feel there would be any problems.
Okay.
Crystal, is there anybody in the waiting room to talk? No?
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Hi. I know that Laura Santana had a question because I took over the front part of the two-part lease parts that the Tustin Cup had. And of course, I am now just retail, not restaurant. But I know that Laura was concerned that the middle shop would still retain restaurant. I don't know if there's any precedence for this or whatnot, but I know that she's very interested in putting that type of a business there, which would be amazing because we could redo the Muse and there could be tables and lights and really something to really energize, to continue to energize Narrowsburg, which is what we want to do. Even with Aaron's music from One Grand, where he had the street doing music, it really seemed to pump up the area. So I don't know that she's online right now, but I know that was her concern. I don't know that it was my place to say it, but here I am, because you've been so good to me.
Well, I think she spoke to Crystal about that earlier today.
Wonderful.
And I think we calmed all of her fears.
Thank goodness. I hope I wasn't, I did something wrong.
No, we calmed all the fears, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful. So here we are.
There's nobody in the waiting room?
no, there is not.
I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing for the store named Tess.
Second. Second.
Hi.
All
Hi.
in
Thank
fa-
you.
all in favor and vote by your names, please.
Ken, aye.
Joe, aye.
Kathleen, I.
John, aye.
Mary, I.
Myself, aye. Ed,
Barry, I think you're muted.
Barry, we can't hear you.
Can't hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now you're coming in.
And now Sean here too. Sean, we had the public hearing and we were just voting to close it.
Okay.
All ayes.
How do you vote on that, Barry?
Aye.
And Sean? Sean?
Aye. I vote to close.
Aye. So carried. With that, we'll open the public hearing for Narrowsburg Motors.
I have a couple of questions as a board member when when I'm available to speak. Ed, may I speak or we'll wait for
Yes,
the
go
public?
ahead, go ahead.
Or are we waiting? We have someone in the waiting room
Do you have anybody in the waiting room, Crystal?
at this
Nobody.
point? Okay. So I have a couple of questions that are really important, and I just want to reiterate the fact that, you know, this is no reflection on the current owners, and that I really want this project to come to fruition. But I have some questions and concerns that I feel that should be addressed at this time. And hopefully they can be addressed, or we could get some answers to it. I'm going to just go down the list. I wrote a list because you know how I'm organized. So if we can address them, that would be great. And I think that these were not brought up in the past meeting, and I think they should be definitely addressed. So one of the questions that was one of the biggest concerns I have is the following, is that I know in the past, way back when, because I've heard from elders when I first moved here that grew up here, this used to be a gas station there, and there used to be pumps there. And I know that this has been a car dealership a long time. And we all know, well know, that when I was sitting on this board, we had to deal with the gas station and the new gas station that was over and putting in Pete's. And also knowing that, you know, oil tanks have to be put in and tanks have to be put out. And now that this will be eventually an eating establishment, as well as continuing doing some type of auto repair, sales, and reinventing the Ford Mustangs as the people that have presented, Carl Wasser and his partner, to convert these cars into electric. Has there been any remediation with any oil tanks or anything like that that may be on the property, have been on the property, or still on the property, or anything like that? And the reason why I'm asking is because let's say Carl and his friend decide, you know what, we're done, we made our millions, let's sell the property. You know, if Kathy and Ben want to sell it, I really don't know, because that's another question I'd like to ask, is that now we give them a special permit to have an eating establishment, and now there's a problem because the tanks, I don't know, have not been removed. So that has not been addressed. That's one question. Should I wait for the answer or go on?
Well, Carl can answer that, I hope.
Oh, yeah, for sure. As could, you know, Ben or Kathleen. The concern you have is very, very good concern. You're not the first person to think of it, of course. It has been addressed. All of the tanks that have been there over the years have been remediated, have been dealt with, have been corrected, and there's paperwork to this effect.
So there is certification that all the tanks have been removed on the property?
Have been dealt with. There is one tank that used to be used. It's empty and it's been remediated, but it's inside the building. So that's the only tank that's still on premises, but it's not buried.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you
And
have
also, as part of our process, we're doing a environmental, what's that called?
Phase one.
A phase one environmental. We've hired a private independent contractor for that. And that's, where does that stand right now, Frederick?
Now we're waiting for the report by the end of the week.
Yeah.
And then if there's any issues, we'll be alerted to that. Obviously, we'll have to take care of any issues, but
Yeah.
we want to do all the
Okay,
due
good.
diligence necessary.
Yeah, it's a very good question, though.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have another question pertaining to that. Since it's going to be an eating establishment, which I think we're all excited about, and the fact that it will generate revenue, tax base, bring more people to the town, and really, you know, really thrive. What type of precautions have you or will be taking to prevent like the smells of oils, chemicals, anything that's utilized in not only what you plan on doing, Carl, because that's upstairs, but also Kathy and Ben, if they're going to be doing any type of repairs or anything like that downstairs, because it is an eating establishment. And I know the health department is going to be involved. And I know personally, if I'm going to have a little snack and a glass of wine, I don't want to be smelling any of that. So
No,
can you
for
address
sure.
that also, please?
So, two things. Number one, these are two separate floors, and there will be no way of going from one floor to another. That's number one. So it's a separate thing. So like, it's very common in any cities that you have multiple uses. So a car dealership or a repair shop in a building could still have a food establishment in another portion of the building. So I don't see that as an issue. Right now, I've been there for about 4 months, off and on, and I never smell. They're not doing the kind of work that I would worry about. My caramelized onions make a lot more smell than their vehicles do in terms of smell. So,
Yeah.
and so I'm not worried about that. But Ben, Kathleen, maybe you know better than I. Could you address that?
Yeah, just to answer, because I know that would
We're
be a
not doing
concern.
body work either. Yeah,
No
we're not
body
doing any
work or
body
anything?
work.
No body
no,
work.
no,
No
no
painting.
painting, no body work, nothing like that.
So
we're really
it-
just selling.
We're just doing very light mechanical work, very light inspections, maybe
Okay.
oil change, nothing in depth.
Nothing. So I have another question, okay?
Yeah.
So the big question is, so in essence, and I think, and let me know, Ed, if I'm overstepping my boundaries. Just like I asked when the Fegels Lake person came as a conceptual idea for developing that area, I asked, well, who's owning the property? Who's developing it? So in essence, my question to you is and Carl or Kathleen could answer this, is Kathleen and Ben selling the property and giving it to Carl and his partner, or is Carl just renting from Kathy and Ben?
So our intention is to purchase the property. That my company will be buying the property from Kathleen. We in
Okay.
effect will ultimately be the owners of the building. We're not now the owners, but that is the intention.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good. It just has to be known because, like I said, the board has a right to know and the public also has the right to know. Okay, so the biggest question is, and I don't know if anybody caught this or maybe I was not aware of this and so on. If you take out your survey map, anybody, I'm looking at the survey map and both survey maps and the ones that were emailed to us. And looking on the drawing, it's the survey drawing for the entrance to the existing driveway is about 2.5 inches, which is according to the scale is about 25 feet, if I'm reading the scale correctly. Since the owner of the in property line bisects the driveway, that leaves only 12 feet for access to a parking area of the current owners of the Narrowsburg Motors, which I believe cannot provide the space for an entrance of emergency vehicles. Is this an easement? Because, let me just say this, Tom Prendergast sold the property to Ned. What decides if Ned decides, I'm out of here. Now, Kathy and Ben sell the property to Carl and his partner, and then they're like, okay, well, that neighbor, let's say John Smith, says, you know what? You're trespassing on my property. I didn't give you an easement. Did anybody pick that up, or is it just me? And the town attorney, I'm not sure if she picked that up. Ed, anybody?
I'm here, but the town attorney's not attending tonight.
Okay, so what do we do about that?
Well, we can talk about this. I can tell you that there's plenty of frontage. I have the survey map right here on the wall here. There's plenty of frontage. It would require maybe a little landscaping to adjust that wall. If the person next door said, hey, you can't put one iota of your tire tread on my land, maybe they would say that, but there is land there.
Yeah, but you're literally it's not much. And remember, you are on 97. There are rules to the highway and so on and so forth. And you have to have a certain amount of width in a
What are you looking at?
driveway to get an emergency. I'm looking at the map, where you look at the map,
Yeah, at the map right here.
okay,
And-
and you see where the property line is? The black line.
The heavy black line is the property line, not the dotted line.
No. And then you look at the gray driveway where you put
Yep,
drawing.
yep.
You're transferring, you're going over someone else's property.
Oh,
Did
up
you
here, this
know that?
line? Yeah,
That
of
gray
course,
line.
of course.
Okay, so
But
you
what
can't do
what I
that.
just said though is that there's plenty of room right here. If, for example, the person next door said you can't step foot on our property, there's an enormous amount of room between the building and that property line. It's more than 12 feet. I mean, I can scale it right now.
Because if you do it to scale right now, and if you did it just based on what you presented to the town board, there isn't.
Sure there
And
is.
if you go, the closer you go to the building, the steeper that bank will be too.
Am I correct? I don't know. I'm looking at
One
this.
equals 10 feet. I see 36 feet
Down here to the
from
road.
the,
Look at your scale. But if
yeah,
you
it's
look
actually
at your,
45 feet from the end of the building to the end of the property lines, 45 feet. Now, the current driveway is showing only 12 feet, right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is that if we were to have to not step foot on the neighbor's driveway, which they could say, I suppose, I'm saying that there's 45 feet to play with between the end of the building and the end of the property. So we could easily, if we had to, adjust that. There's
well,
plenty of width for
I'm
an
just
emergency.
saying that no one picked that up, and that's a little disconcerting to me. That
Well, I
you
mean, we all
presented it
know
like
it's
this.
there. Kathleen, how has that been dealt with in the past?
Do you have an easement?
You're
Can't hear
muted,
you.
Kathleen.
over there. Yeah, we've never had any issues in the past with any previous owners.
But do you have an easement to do that? I mean,
I
the
don't
way
think
you're
I
doing
need
it
an
now.
I don't think I need
Yeah.
an easement.
No, but I mean, you're driving over someone else's property. I'm bringing this up because I'm not comfortable with what you presented, not you, Kathleen, personally, but with Carl, just looking
If
at
there were
this.
any issues, they would be coming through title.
Well,
Title search would do that.
not always, because you're on someone else's property,
But
driving a driveway.
that would be discovered by title, which is also discovered by the surveyor.
I understand that, but this is the survey, Barry. And what the
They
survey is
covered it.
showing us, that the drawing that they presented. Now, listen, I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time. What I'm trying to do is protect everybody so that eventually, if this scenario is this and this, what you presented is not, right now, is not what it's supposed to be.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
just
so
putting it
I
out
agree,
there.
it is 12 feet from the,
Mhm.
I'm muted, huh?
Oh, I just had to tell everybody, I don't know, but we had gotten a letter from the county that they had no issue with anything. We got the letter. They had no comment, so they were fine with
But
it.
it's also, yeah,
Actually on a county road.
Yeah.
Like our,
Well-
where we are is actually a county road.
yes, I know that.
And they had no, in fact, we have the letter that said there was no comment. They had no issues.
Can I add something else in there?
Oh, go ahead. I'm just bringing it up. This
Yeah,
is
well,
not,
it's factual.
listen,
Yeah,
because this is important, because
yeah.
we don't want something to come back to say, oh my goodness, why did the board approve this? Or why
Yeah.
did we get the okay when this
Yeah.
literally is on record showing this?
Yeah, no, that's not a surprise to us. I think everyone that has been dealing with that property for the past 60 years is aware of that. And it is certainly, on the survey, it's about 12 feet of existing driveway width to the end of the property. That is true. But could I ask you, is it not also true that it's 45 feet from the end of the building to the property line there? At 1 inch per 10 feet?
I'm just looking what you presented.
Yeah,
as
that's what I'm looking at too.
And then you move the retaining wall, and so if you move the retaining wall out, right, then you have to create a whole new driveway.
Yeah.
Listen, I want this business to succeed, but according to what this is, you know, I'm just letting you know, that's
Yeah, so-
that's my say.
Yeah, would you not
And-
agree
and
that
Mr.
it's 45
Chairman,
feet
I'm
from the
just-
building to the corner?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Would you not agree that it's 45 feet from the end of the building
It's
to the
not,
end of the
I'm
corner?
not an engineer, I'm not a surveyor, I'm just reading and interpreting what is said, that's it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mary,
That's fine.
Mary, if this should arise at a later point, they can move the driveway over.
Okay, I'm just letting you know, I'm not comfortable with
Yeah.
what was presented. And it's
And
not
if
that
you
it's
will-
on the business, I'm just letting you know that I'm not comfortable with what was presented on the survey, and then we go ahead and give the permission, and then if someone sells it, and the other one sells it, and then there's an issue. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, that's all.
Yeah.
Ed, it's Chuck. If
That's
I,
all.
Mary, if I could just jump in real quick, maybe I could
Yeah,
add a
thanks,
little
Chuck.
more insight.
Yeah.
We looked at that issue as well, and absent a formal easement there, it's been a driveway by use for 60 years, and I'm certainly not an attorney, so I can't speak legally. Somebody needs to mute their mic. We're getting a lot of feedback. But there we go. I couldn't hear. But it's been a user driveway by right, certainly for 60 years. I don't think, according to Kathleen, there was any evidence of any conflicts with the neighbors. I certainly appreciate your sentiment about access. When we looked at it, there's plenty of space to literally move, a small portion of that retaining wall, if it ever became a legal issue, to straighten the driveway out and have full access through there. And certainly in the case of emergencies, if a fire truck had to get through, even if it was a shared driveway and one party was not allowing the other party to access that road, fire services would ignore that and come down through there anyways. So there would be no health or safety issues in terms of the use of that driveway for emergency services, but there might be legally between the two landowners. And that's a civil issue that the planning board really should probably not wade into, simply because A, it doesn't exist right now, and B, if it ever did exist, the two attorneys would have to work out a solution, or the applicant has, really demonstrated that they do have the room to slide that driveway over a couple feet if they need to get out onto 97. So, I definitely appreciate your concern in raising that issue, but I think that, certainly the applicant has shown that they can mitigate that condition if they ever need to. So just wanted to add
And
that in.
what if, and let me ask you this, Chuck, and what if the owner of the Narrowsburg Inn decides to move and create a wall that basically then is on his property? Is there still enough room to go ahead and do a driveway?
Yeah, definitely. And even with the slopes and even with that existing retaining wall there.
Yeah,
Yeah, they could mitigate that. It might cost them a little bit, but they could certainly mitigate that and move the driveway over. So,
okay.
Are you satisfied, Mary?
I had my questions answered.
Okay, thank you. Any
No,
other
thank
questions
you.
from the board? And Crystal, do we have anybody in the waiting room to comment? You're shaking your head no, but I can't hear you. No, I still can't hear you. No? Okay. I will put a motion on the floor, since there's no more comments, to close the public hearing for Narrowsburg Motors. Could I get a second, please?
Second, if I'm allowed.
You're more than happy to get it from you, John.
I'll second it.
Vote now. Please vote by your name.
Ken, aye.
Sean, aye.
Barry, aye.
John, I.
Kathleen? Oh, you can't vote. I'm sorry. Who, Mary?
No.
I'll vote. Kenny?
Yes, aye.
And I vote aye. What is the count, Chris, Amy? I can't hear Amy.
Amy's muted.
So there's 2 nays. And this is just to close the public hearing to vote no.
Oh, to vote, oh,
This is just.
oh,
for the
yes,
Public hearing.
yeah. Yes, yes.
All right, so we have all-
Kathleen,
everybody in favor of closing then?
Yes.
Kathleen, are you?
Kathleen can't vote.
Yeah, but she can't vote to
I'm not
close.
hearing you. I'm sorry, yes, you can. But we can't hear,
Kathleen, aye.
okay. The hearing is closed. And with that, we'll open the regular monthly meeting for the town of Tustin for August. You want to join me with the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands,
One nation.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Amy, if you could read the minutes from last month, please.
Okay. A regular meeting of the Town of Tustin Planning Board was held on July 20th via Zoom with the following members present: Ed Jackson, Ken Bame, Joe Carreri, Sean Harrington, Barry Becker, John Kaufman, Mary Bermudez, Kathleen Hankins, with approximately 7 members of the general public. Also, along with Crystal Weston, Town Clerk, and Jim Crowley, Code Enforcement Officer. The regular meeting was opened at 7:30 PM following the Pledge of Allegiance. Resolution 22-20, on motion by Bame, second by Kaufman, the following resolution was adopted: ayes 6, nays 0, to accept the June 2020 minutes. Old business, Narrowsburg Motor Sales for a special use permit. Parking spaces, there are 11 in the back with 2 for the employees and 2 for the auto repair. There's also downtown parking within walking distance and 2 ADA parking on the side of the building. The cafe is 30 by 30, would only need 9 spaces. The site plan is much more detailed presented this month. Parking on site area variance, a waiver could be granted. There is no parking in the front of the building. There will be no outdoor seating at this time. No plans on landscaping, just painting and cleaning up the building. Resolution 2320, on motion by Bame, second by Carreri. The following resolution was adopted: ayes 5, nays 0, 3 abstained. Resolved for a preliminary approval of the special use permit for Narrowsburg Motor Sales, SBL 10-2-4. The following members abstained: Kathleen Hankins, owner; Barry Becker, realtor; and John Kaufman, employee. Resolution 2420, on motion by Bame, second by Bermudez. The following resolution was adopted: ayes 6, nays 0. Resolved to approve the secret for Narrowsburg Motors, 174 Bridge Street, SBL 10-2-4. The planning board will be lead agency. Crystal will sign the secret and submit the 239 to the county. Resolution 2520, motion by Jackson, second by Carreri. The following resolution was adopted: ayes 6, nays 0. Resolved to schedule the public hearing for Narrowsburg Motors on August 17th at 7:20 PM. An escrow check in the amount of $3,000 is needed, made out to the town of Tustin. Wood Oak Solar Farm, Rich Winter and Kevin Earlwine are present. Concerns are as follows. The trees. The trees are not the height as approved in previous meetings. The trees should be 8 to 10 feet tall when planted. Delaware River Solar will order new trees, approximately 75 or more if needed, to stagger along the outside of fence and plant closer together. Trees on Laurel Lane will follow the fence line to the woods. Mr. Winter will come to the next meeting with cost of trees and pattern. This has been tabled to the next meeting. The solar panels have been off for about 3 weeks and would like to be able to turn them back on. Code enforcement officer stated that he cannot give a CO to a non-compliant project. Non-compliant items are vegetation, paving, mowing, and sheep. The sheep will be put in the fence as soon as the grass is high enough, and they are trying different types of grasses. Water will be from Roto-Rooter for the sheep. At the next meeting, more information will be available on when the sheep will be arriving. A meeting with the fire departments is scheduled for July 23rd at 7 p.m. Paving contract is signed and almost done with topsoil. Code enforcement officer will contact Rich Winter to discuss temporary CO. This has been tabled until the next meeting. New business, Roseanne McKeegan, the Old Tustin Cup, 25 Main Street, PO Box 402, SBL 10-1-3, change of use from eating and drinking establishment to a retail store. Secret approval, resolution 2620. Motion by Bain, seconded by Harrington. The following resolution was adopted A6, nay 0. Resolved to approve the secret for Roseanne McKeegan, 25 Main Street, Narrowsburg. The planning board will be lead agency. Crystal will sign the secret and submit the 239 to the county. Applicant will send certified return receipt letters out to all neighbors within 500 feet. On motion by Jackson, second by Carrera, the following resolution was adopted A6, nay 0. Resolved to schedule the public hearing for Roseanne McKeegan on August 17th at 7:15 p.m. Resolution 2820, motion by Bain, second by Carrera, the following resolution was adopted A5, nay 0 for preliminary approval for the special use permit for Roseanne McKeegan. Beagles Lake, the concept plan is to make big private lots. There is a road existing already. This will be done in phases, update the road, hiking area, and common areas. The hiking area, the association will pay for. The ski lodge will be renovated. Private roads will follow town codes, and the association will take care of the roads. The dam has been built to hold 2 fire trucks side by side. The cul-de-sac need to verify the exact length and will need an extra large turn at the end. Electric will be overhead and the box to the dam will be underground. There is a 4-acre piece in the town if interested to offer sleigh riding for the public. Dan, who is presenting this project, is looking for ideas, new input, possibly documentation of the property. Each parcel will have their own well and septic. The house sizes will be about 1,600 to 1,800 square feet. This is a multiple year project and to go in phases. Stewart is funding the project and Steve Adler is a silent partner. This is a good plan in place and segmenting in phases will be good. The applicant is marketing this to Tom Frieda for people to move up in the area out of the dense areas. The brooks, stream crossings need to be on the topo map. Next meeting, we're to discuss Steve and Donna Gentry. The meeting was adjourned at 10:03 p.m.
Any corrections or additions? If not, I'll put a motion on the floor to accept the minutes as read.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. I made a mistake a little earlier. Shannon, I forgot you. I received an email rather from Shannon across the street at the Upper Delaware Council. She used to be with the county and she's moved up in class now. Works for the
It
federal.
was a good move.
If you'd like to give us a little talk too, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Ed. I appreciate you guys letting me. I'm not going to take up too much time. I know you guys are busy, but I just wanted to hop on and both introduce myself as UDC's new resource specialist. So I did the two substantial conformance reviews for the town of Tustin for the test special use and Narrowsburg motor special use. That was kind of my first exercise as UDC planner. So I appreciate the town sending me something somewhat simple that's not a 400-page zoning document to review at first in my first couple weeks. So I appreciate that. The main reason that I wanted to talk to you guys real quick is to let you know that the Upper Delaware Council has just printed, and we're announcing and launching our new project review workbook 2.0. So it is an updated version of our old project review workbook, but it is much more user-friendly and much more municipality-friendly. So I will be dropping off. It's a nice little workbook. It has a bunch of forms and checklists and all sorts of kind of like easy process maps to follow for the substantial conformance review process. So I will be dropping off a couple copies to the town this week so that Ed and Crystal and everyone can have a couple copies of it. But it's also, we just uploaded it onto our UDC website. So if you go to upperdelawarecouncil.org, the entire workbook, as well as all the forms for substantial conformance reviews are available on our website under the project review tab at the top. So everything is available digitally. And going forward, there is a cover form, a cover submission form that is a fillable PDF. So anytime you guys have a project that happens in the river corridor that needs to go to the UDC, you can fill out whether it's Ed or Crystal or whoever, fill out the cover form in the workbook and then submit all of that to us, and then we'll move forward with the review process. So it's really streamlined, simple, and it's, like I said, it's really user-friendly. I know the river management plan and the review process is very complicated sometimes, so this book is just a really easy guide that NPS and UDC have put together. So I will, like I said, I'll be sending those. I'll be bringing a few hard copies over to town, but again, it's available on our website now. We are also working on, we just finished filming kind of an explanation, like going through the entire book. That's going to be about a 30-minute video that will be available as well to kind of walk you through the entire process step by step for substantial conformance reviews in the river corridor. So again, if you guys have any questions, just, feel free to let me know, whether, give me a call or shoot me an email. Ed and Crystal both have my contact information. But, I just, like I said, I wanted to introduce myself, let you know that I was working across the street now, and that if you ever have any questions related to projects or the river corridor or substantial conformance or anything like that, just give me a call, and we'll go from there.
Any questions for Shannon? If not, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate your input to us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm going to hop off. You guys have a great rest of your meeting.
And I wish you a lot of luck with your new job.
Thank you.
I did put in, we got no correspondence, but we did get one letter. It was forwarded to me from the building department. It's from the people at the solar farm. And since I don't know how to take a letter and get it into a computer, I have to read it. I can't forward it to everybody. Delaware River Solar. Here, this is Jim writing to Rich Winters at Delaware. Dear Mr. Winters, as per our inspection and our conversation on July 30th, 2020, permission is granted to turn on the solar farm. We will need a $21,250 check written to the town of Tustin to be put in escrow for the portion of the value of the trees and labor, and for the guarantee that the trees will live for 2 years upon completion of planting by 9/30/2020. If they don't survive the 2 years, they will be removed and replanted at Delaware Solar, further known as DRS expense. The escrow money will be to return to DRS after the trees are planted by 9/30/2020. The trees are, if the trees are not planted by 9/30/2020, DRS will be disconnected and the field will be turned off again. Take note that no certificate of occupancy has been issued for this project as per planning board approval. Now, that I think I did put a little note to you guys that the trees are gonna cost them $40,000. They had to put a $20,000 guarantee to the nursery to hold the trees for them, so they're giving us the balance of the other 20,000. I think it's a good compromise, and I think we'll come out ahead on this. I looked at all the drawings, and we never did request them to extend the trees past the corner of where it goes up the hill into that little cul-de-sac. I don't know how we missed that originally, but we didn't, and we can't hold them to it now if we didn't ask for it originally. But that's
Oh,
what.
we had asked
Say again?
We had asked for them to screen it from adjoining properties, which would bring it up to that end.
I'm
That-
sorry, could I just so I understand, the trees are not supposed to be planted up on Wood Oak Drive, that corner property over there? The Lander property?
I'm sorry, I don't know who's talking to me.
Sorry, excuse me. My name is Lisa DeAndrea. I own the property at 106 Wood Oak Drive, directly across the street from the solar power plant. Are you saying that there are not going, or the Delaware River Solar is not required to put trees up on that side of the road near my house?
They're gonna run all
I'm
the,
talking about Laurel Lane, Lisa, which is above the corner.
So there are no, so I just want to make sure that everybody understands, because this is a major issue for me. The trees, obviously, everybody can see the trees by my house are half dead, half of them.
well,
There are
those
virtually
have
no
nothing to do with
trees.
what those have nothing to do with what we're talking about now. There's all brand new trees coming in September.
In September, there are brand new trees coming in. Are they going to be mowing? Excuse me, I'm sorry. I came into the meeting a little bit late, so you may have covered this initially. First of all, there's a lot of issues with that solar farm over there with respect to the upkeep and the maintenance of it. The grass is barely mowed. Again, the trees, and there's a lot of other issues over there. So I just want to make sure that somebody is going to be, I know that I just heard you say that they were granted access to turn it on, but why are they being granted access to turn it on if they're not in compliance with all of the requirements that they originally agreed to when they were granted this?
That part you have to talk to the building department. That's out of our wheelhouse.
Okay, so I've been asking for records relating to this, and I know that they've been slow in coming. I actually haven't received anything yet, but who do I need to speak to with respect to the maintenance of that property? Who in the town is responsible for ensuring that, one, the trees are planted, two, that the
We have a
grass is,
we have a $20,000 bond right now towards the trees.
you have a $20,000 bond to plant trees
We're holding $20,000 till they plant the trees. And
until they plant the trees.
And the trees,
And
the trees are gonna cost $40,000.
Who is responsible for ensuring that? Is that the zoning board?
The
Is that the buildings department?
Building department.
The buildings department is responsible for ensuring that the maintenance is upkept on that property?
That was the letter I just read, was the letter that the building inspector wrote to the solar farm.
Okay, so I didn't apologize. I didn't hear who that letter was from. So the letter that you just read is from the buildings department to the solar farm.
Right.
granting them the ability to turn on the solar farm. However, they have to ensure that they plant the trees. And then what about the mowing? And I heard something about sheep. Is there going to now be an additional smell near my property from the sheep? Where are they going to be housed? Where are they going to be maintained? What are the health conditions that I'm going to be subjected to?
Again, I can't answer that question for you. That's out of our wheelhouse.
Was that discussed during any planning and or zoning meetings when this project was
I
first
believe
proposed?
If you go back in the minutes, yes, it was.
So this was all discussed.
Say again?
This was all discussed during the planning and zoning board meetings? Was a study done? Was anything done? I'm sorry, I don't know. It just says Ed on your screen, so I'm not sure of your last name. So I apologize for referring to you as Ed.
Right,
And
Ed is fine.
Okay. I've been trying to get the records with respect to the authorization for this solar farm. I've been trying to get the records with respect to who did any studies, if any studies have been done, what the safety conditions are required, whether or not the fire department has been trained in, God forbid, there's a fire, putting out a fire.
The fire department they went through a training course with the field.
They went, and when was that done?
Last month sometime, I believe.
And they were certified?
Is there fertilizer?
Again, that's not in our realm.
Okay. So what exactly is within the realm of the zoning board?
I think that, no, the zoning board has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with the solar farm whatsoever?
The ZBA, no.
I'm sorry?
The ZBA had nothing to do with the solar farm.
So why is it discussing?
So why is it being discussed now? I'm a little
We're
confused.
not the ZBA, we're the planning board.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I meant the planning board. I apologize for the slip of the tongue. What does the planning board, what responsibilities does the planning board have with respect to the solar farm?
I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
What responsibilities does the planning board have with respect to the solar farm? What is the planning board responsible for when it comes to the solar farm?
We reviewed all of the drawings and the plans and put our stipulations in that we wanted, which they agreed to. They kind of sidestepped some of it, but they're coming in line now. And our biggest complaint right now was the trees and the maintenance of the grass. But they did come in and mow it. And they brought in a rattlesnake expert to walk in front of the mower to make sure they didn't cut any snakes up.
So I can tell you, because I pass it and I see it from my house, I can actually see it. The mowing is inadequate at best. The grass is still very, very tall, touching some of the panels in some of the spots. So my issue is if they, like you said, sidestep some of the requirements and stipulations that you all put in place, they're not actually keeping up with what they're required to do.
Well,
So when there is a violation, who do I contact? That's the other issue that I don't.
The building department. Did you hear me, Lisa? I can't hear you now.
Sorry, apparently I was muted. I didn't hear you.
The building department has all control over it now.
The buildings department has control over it. So they're responsible for issuing violations.
Yeah.
They're responsible for ensuring that everything is done.
We can't issue any violations.
But the buildings department can.
Yes, they can.
And the buildings department can shut them down.
If they don't comply with the tree deal, yes.
Okay, I'm asking now again for a copy of the agreement between the town and Delaware River Solar and any other parties. I've asked for all the records with respect to this. I've submitted.
I'm sorry, I lost you again at the end.
Sorry, Ed. It's Crystal Weston, Town Clerk. Hi, Lisa. I have been working on fulfilling your FOIL request. However, because of the size of the request, there's a lot of information and a lot of years of information. There are most recent planning board meetings posted online that do discuss the most recent up-to-date information on what is happening currently. And they are on the town website.
So
But
part of the problem, sorry, not to cut you off, but part of the problem was I've been trying to figure out who's in charge of this, who's responsible for this, and nobody, it's all been mom. Nobody's been saying, well, this department is responsible for this, that department's responsible for that. So now that you've told me that it's the planning board, I can now go online and look at it, because I was looking at the town board meeting minutes, and there I haven't been able to find anything within the past year or so on this.
Well,
As you know, Crystal, and as some of the people on this meeting know, I just purchased this home and I didn't know anything about this. I knew nothing about this solar farm until construction started. I have a neighbor that also claims not to have been notified about the solar farm construction.
Well, letters were sent out to all the property owners within 500 feet before the project started.
Yes, I didn't get it. I never got it. I was never notified.
I'm going back 2 years ago.
I was never notified.
You didn't own it then, Lisa.
You're right, I didn't, but I'm letting everybody know. Let everybody know that I didn't know about this.
The problem you have is then with your real estate broker.
Well, that's a whole separate issue.
They should have told you what was going on. They must have known.
They should have notified us before they built it. The town knew me.
The town, you know, there's a couple of different issues, but we'll save that for a different time. I just wanted to know what like I said, joined the meeting a little bit late, and when you started talking about the Wood Oak Drive solar farm, I wanted to get up to speed and find out exactly what you were saying when now apparently it's going live, which is of great concern to me and my family. God forbid that something happens over there.
Well, it was on before. We made them turn it off.
Oh, it was on before, so it was shut off?
It was on for 3 months.
Lovely. And nobody notified us. So I'm making a formal request that I would like to be notified when that is going live, when it's shut off, especially given the fact that I'm directly across the street from it. And my family.
Lisa, again, that's all the building department. We have nothing to do with it now, other than we filed a formal complaint about the trees.
Okay, so I will contact the buildings department then about that. Can I just ask one other question also? When you all were planning and approving the solar power plant, for lack of a better term, is there fertilizer being stored on the other side of that?
On the other side of it? What do you mean by that?
On the other side of the solar farm, yeah.
I don't know. The other side would be Lang.
Because there's a terrible sewage smell coming from that side over there. So I'm just questioning whether there was any studies done with respect to fertilizer, noxious gases, anything like that.
Well, what you're probably smelling is the environmental, what I can't think of the name of the company.
And who has control over that? Is that you all, or is that the buildings department?
Again, the building department.
The buildings department has control over that. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions before we? I hope we helped you out some, Lisa.
Unfortunately, until I know what's going on, because there are times when I walk out of my house and it smells like I walked into a sewer. So until I find out, until I get answers, and I did contact the buildings department and was told it's not within their realm. So I'm getting double talk from everybody. So unfortunately, I have not been getting any answers, and I'm getting stonewalled at every turn when I've asked politely for answers, and it's been a year now, and I'm getting stonewalled everywhere, and it's just not right.
I really can't give you any, again, it's not in our realm to take care of what you're complaining about. The solar farm, we had a complaint because of what happened. But the other one, we have There's no control whatsoever over it.
So you had a complaint, when you say what happened, is it the dead trees that are planted there and the lack of trees and the lack of mowing and the lack of maintenance of the property?
Well, that was some of the complaints we put before them, and that's when we got this agreement on the trees that are supposed to be there. The trees are
And I
originally
respectfully,
10 feet tall.
yes, I know. They were supposed to be larger. There was supposed to be a black fence. There's no black fence. You're not supposed to be able to see them.
The black
The
fence.
fence is black.
It's a chain
Yes,
link
it is a
fence.
black chain link fence. It was supposed to be a black fence that would obstruct the view of the
No, no,
actual
no,
solar
no.
panels. And this is from what I've gotten from news reports.
No.
No, it's a black fence so that you wouldn't see it.
It was
You
supposed to
do
be a
see
black
it. Have you,
chain
I'm
link-
sorry. So what were the other issues? What were the other complaints that you, can I ask what were the other complaints you received regarding the solar farm?
I haven't got any, just the ones we filed.
Yes, I understand. What was the ones you filed? You said regarding,
The biggest thing was about the trees and all the wood chips and everything along the side of Wood Oak.
They also have abandoned scrap.
yeah. The other thing actually is, which is a huge issue for the wildlife in the area, and I'm just waiting for some deer or other animals to get caught up in this. There is, right outside of that black chain link fence, there is 2 gigantic piles of chicken wire almost, fencing chicken wire that's rusted out, and it's sitting out for anybody, children, deer, anybody that could access it. You can drive up and it's right there on the road. So is something going to be done about that?
I didn't even see that when I was up there the last time. Whereabouts did you see it?
It's on, I can get you pictures and send them to you. It's on between Arena Court and Wood Oak Drive, right outside the fence.
Are you talking in that part that's cleared between the fence and the tree line?
Yes, where the,
Well, they
where
have
there's,
to-
'cause
They're working in there again now, so maybe that's going out when they finish cleaning up.
no, it's been there for months because it is actually rusted out wire fencing, or it looks like chicken wire. It's right,
That might be
Yeah,
the
but-
fence we had them take down.
That's the fence we made them take.
but are they allowed to, but here's the thing, are they allowed to leave rubbish and garbage on the property when wildlife, any sort of child, anybody, people can get hurt? If you go by it, it looks dangerous, okay?
There's
So
pallets
that
and
should be
everything else there,
removed.
right?
I'm sorry?
Isn't there pallets and other stuff piled there too, and posts?
There are poles, it's right
well,
in
they
front
have
of the
to-
poles.
That's because they haven't finished cleaning up yet.
No, the poles that are there are poles that look like they're ready to be installed
No,
for
those are the
something.
ones those are the
The
ones.
That's the one we
wiring,
made them take
the
out.
wiring, let me put it this way. I'm putting everybody on notice. There's wiring there. It is dangerous. It is a dangerous condition that is on somebody's property that is being caused by the Delaware River Solar, I assume. So I'm telling you, there is a dangerous condition. That's what I'm trying to say to you. It's been there for months.
That's the fence we made
It's
them.
not something that they haven't had time. How much time do they need? How much time does this multi-million-dollar company need in order to remove rubbish? If they take months to remove rubbish, how much time are they going to take to maintain this property, which they haven't done already?
Well, again, that complaint would go to the building department. That's not our job.
Good. Maybe I'll go to the news too with it all. I mean, this is getting to be ridiculous. I'm notifying you all.
But it's
You're telling me
not-
that you had let me ask you something. The agreement you had with them is that they were to maintain the property, correct? That was one of the requirements that you had? They were to maintain the property, yes or no?
Yes, but once we give it approval, it's no longer ours. It now becomes the building department.
However, you just said that you submitted a letter to them for complaints for non-compliance with your requirements. I'm telling you, there is a maintenance issue. One of the maintenance issues is that they have wiring of some sort, metal wiring, out in the open, accessible to anybody, any animal walking by.
Supposed to be environmental friendly.
This is supposed to be an environmental project, and they're actually harming the environment by leaving their rubbish there.
Now, again, I understand your pain, but there's nothing, our hands are tied. It becomes a code enforcement issue. We can't enforce code.
And you can't forward the complaint over to the code enforcement officer either, I
Yes,
assume.
I can tell him, but if you give him a complaint, it's gonna go a lot better than with me giving him a complaint. Right?
I will be, but excuse me, you're making it sound as if, you know what, we approved it, we got the town the money that the town wanted from the project, because I know that the town received money from this. Just how much, I haven't uncovered yet. We got what the town wanted, and you know what, we wash our hands of it and forget about the homeowners that are affected by this. Let them fight it out themselves.
Actually,
Correct? That's what I'm.
The town lost money because they're not paying taxes.
I'm sorry?
They're not paying full taxes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. They're not paying full taxes on the property? You have got to be kidding me.
We
New York state law, they're entitled to an exemption for 15 years. They went IDA, so they're getting 20 years of exempt.
So they're getting 20 years of exemptions.
Correct.
Fantastic. So the town's losing money on this, and I'm losing my property value, and I'm losing my view, and I'm losing a lot of other things that nobody seemed to care about or consider. Fantastic. So who's getting a benefit here, other than Delaware River Solar?
I can't answer that question for you.
Well, you were part of the planning board.
Yeah, but once we
It was part of the planning process, wasn't it?
We have to abide by the laws of the state of New York.
Can I ask, what was the benefit?
Ed, could you please move that into public comment and get the rest of your meeting with the new business taken care of? We've got here that are costing your applicants some money. She can be heard at the end of your meeting.
All right. Lisa, if you would like to wait, we'll listen to you a little longer at the end, but I'd like you to get our meeting moving. Old business. Change of use for Tess on Main Street. Tess, are you here? I don't see Tess. I received a 239 back from the county. On, wait a minute. One thing. This is it. Wow, Narrowford Motors. Came back up from Tess. It's county reviewed the materials submitted regarding the property located at 25 Main Street in the town of Tustin. As all the work will be interior, we find the matter to be local determination. I'll put a motion on the floor to approve the change of use for the store called Tess on Main Street at 25 Main. I want to vote by your names, please.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you for the second. Kathleen, don't vote. John, don't vote. And Barry, please don't vote.
This is not theirs. This is Tess.
That's not theirs. I'm sorry.
Tess.
I'm a little confused.
This is Ken, I.
Mary, I.
Joe, aye.
Don, aye.
Don, aye.
Barry, aye.
John?
I voted aye.
I'm sorry, and I vote aye. The motion's carried. Tess will make sure that you get the permanent CFO as of tomorrow. Also under old business, Narrowsburg Motors, change of use from an automotive dealership to an eating and drinking establishment. I received it back from the county. Exactly the same. I can read it from the other one even. County has reviewed the materials submitted regarding the property located at 25 Main Street, I'm sorry, at 147 Bridge Street in Tustin. It's all workable interior. It's not anticipated any countywide impacts. We find this to be a local determination. I will put a motion on the floor to approve the change of use for Narrowsburg Motors. Could I get a second?
I'll second. Go ahead, let Joe do it. Or whomever.
Joe,
Was
What?
did you second that?
No, I didn't.
I did it, Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
Okay.
I didn't know who it was.
Well, all right, I'll take a vote by the names, please.
Ken, aye.
Sean, aye.
Where's Mary?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So carried. We approve the change of use for Narrowsburg Motors. Carl, you and your people can get busy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I received a phone call, I believe it was last Monday or Tuesday, from the engineer for Eagles Lake. He told me he would not be appearing tonight because they're trying to get surveyors in there to do a topo so we can figure out what the slopes look like. In the interim since then, Chuck Voss and myself took a ride in there. I want to tell you, the dam, you could get two fire trucks to pass each other, but one's going in the water.
Absolutely right, Ed.
Oh, please, no.
And when you get down to the other end, it's only wide enough for my pickup.
I've been hesitant to go over there again lately because I look at it from a distance and don't want to cross it.
Yeah, well, when we were coming back, there was a truck coming in the other way bringing lumber because they're renovating the lodge. And I could feel my truck doing this up and down and the soft, that's how soft it is there. And that was in the pickup. But the other thing that caught my attention is we made that turn. The one road they showed on the map goes up at about a 45-degree angle. So I don't know how they're ever going to use that road.
Used to be a ski slope, didn't it?
Well, there was a ski mountain on the back side, so that's how steep that slope is on the back.
Maybe they're gonna ski down, who knows?
Chuck, what'd you say?
But maybe they'll use snowcats to get people in and out.
Yeah.
Good idea, I was just thinking that.
And the other thing that concerns me is, I don't know where that cul-de-sac is gonna go, but there's no, they show like a ridge or something up there on the side of that hill. I can't see anything looking up the hill where they can put the road.
I think it goes right on down around and then cul-de-sacs by the lakefront.
All the way down at the other end of the lake.
Yeah, at the upper head of the lake.
Well, it's gonna
That's
be,
what was on the map, as I recall.
I see a bulldozer in there the other day grading the road over there on the Humphrey Road side.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's gonna happen there, but I'm glad to hear that they're gonna market it through Frida. Of course, I feel very, Barry, you don't want to get involved in it, do you?
I wasn't asked.
Well, let's see. I think that's it for this evening. If
No, I have
we
two
have-
combinations of
oh,
lots.
that's right, too. You sent me those, Kenny, and I don't know what I did. I
I
didn't.
sent them to everybody, so everybody had their own copy.
Yeah.
The one I had sent for last meeting was for Steve and Donna Genchi, 10 Brook Drive at Perry Pond subdivision. They have 3 lots that they own that have been combined into one, and they built their house on it previously. They bought one more lot, so now they'll have 4 lots, adding another 6.13 acres to the 24 they had before. So that didn't seem too complicated.
Did everybody get those? I forwarded those on to everybody.
Yes.
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 And I sent them too, so they should have 2 copies.
Any problems or complaints or questions?
Nope.
I'll put a motion on the floor to approve the lot combination.
I'll second that.
All in favor, just an aye.
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 All opposed? So carried.
My second one is Lisa and Larry Stewart at 360 Delaware Drive. It's the former Vera Williams and Walter Wood house. They had taken their garage and made a master bedroom this past year. And there's a lot across the road that was formerly Wood's Garden. I tried years ago to put it together, but they're in different sections of the map. And at that time, things weren't done digitally and they refused. At this point, the mapping department has no problem to join the parcels across the road. It is a public road, so that's something that gets done. They want to build a garage on the other side of the road. And the only way they can do it is if it's on their primary lot, so they need to be joined.
Do they want to combine it with one of those Z's across the road?
Yeah.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
No.
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 All right, then I will put a motion on the floor to approve the lot combination on the 2 sides of, you just told me the road and I forgot, Ken.
Delaware Drive.
Delaware.
I'll second.
All in favor? Just an aye.
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 All opposed? So carried. Now, the other thing I forgot before is during the week or sometime since the last meeting, Jim Crowley and I met with a gentleman, and I can't recall his name now. He wants to buy that piece of property up off, what's the name of the road? I told you, Kenny, up there where you go across the railroad track.
I don't remember what you told me. Or
The
what
one where they want to put the campground in with a subdivision.
Arrowhead Lane. It was the former River Valley Development Corp.
Right.
They've got quite a few acres down in there, and they're selling the house and a lot, possibly, at this point.
Yeah, the whole thing, the big.
Yeah.
They want to put a campground in there.
It's really, when we did many years ago, before most of you were on this planning board, they made 2-acre lots out of that whole thing, and they were a little bit low for the river flooding and the height of the building. They all had to have anti-flow septics and so on. So they never got marketed. They never got a road. It was not very well done. And combined them back together into one big lot, so that now he's got his house, a couple building lots, and the big one. So it's probably a logical use for that because it's close to the river and nice access. And it's relatively flat riverfront, and it's really not suitable for building because it is kind of in the floodplain. It could get flooded. In my lifetime, I have seen it flooded with ice once that it was totally covered.
Yeah, I
Where
have,
is it located?
What was that?
Where is it located?
Arrowhead Lane, you go across the crossing, it's to your left. It's River Valley Development Corp.
Right off of Ackerman Road.
Oh, okay.
I have pictures of it completely underwater.
Yeah. Well, what do you do for the septic down there for a campground?
They would have to have anti-flow, and that's Board of Health and them, but it's better to have a campground that's seasonal and can get out of there than residential, I would think.
Well, he was saying they would probably bring in porta sands, fancy ones, and
Yeah.
take them back out in the winter. They have porta sands that have running water in them and everything. So well, that's in the works. I don't know if it'll fly. And then this past Friday, I met with, and I don't know how many people know him, Lou Weber Jr. You remember him, Kenny?
Yes, I know him.
He wants to take, he owns that corner of Weber Road and Route 23. He wants to put a convenience store in there.
Does he touch 23 at all?
Yeah, he comes right on. He has frontage on 23.
Okay.
He
Because,
goes
you know,
from Weber-
the house is back on the corner. I didn't realize he owned that.
He owns the front lot too. And he goes from Weber Road to the Cemetery Road. He owns the cemetery.
Right.
He wants to put a convenience store there and then maybe a shop in the back for his equipment. But again, that's something that he just wanted me to come down and look at the property and see what I thought. And it's R2, so he can go ahead. It all fits. It's a small lot. It's only 2 acres, but again, it's a non-conforming pre-existing lot. So he should be able to do it.
Well, he has lots of land where his house
So
is.
he's got more. He said if he had to, he could tie more acreage to it. But it would be nice to have a convenience store out here. There we could walk out here and get her coffee.
You know what? I'll do this, and I'll bring you one.
Anything else? I see the Widens online. Have you got anything this evening, or you're just visiting? Jim Farrell, Mike Farrell, I see you.
Just visiting.
I can't hear you,
Hello,
Mike.
Ed. Nothing to report. Nothing to report.
And Art and Pat? I see it.
Yeah, just watching government in action, that's all.
Thank you, appreciate it. Hey, Art?
Yes.
You're getting tiny fire trucks to go into Fiegel's Lake.
Yeah, when I heard you mention 2 side by side, didn't sound like anything that would work out. And,
Maybe you'll get pontoons on your new one.
yeah, and just as a footnote, we did attend a training session up at that solar farm. I think it was the 23rd of July.
Were you satisfied with it?
Yeah, there's really not much. Those panels, what we were told, are not going to burn. They're basically glass and aluminum. They showed us how to shut the system off without going into the fence if we had to. So it, you know, from a firefighting standpoint, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Thank you, Art. I appreciate that. Did you hear that, Lisa?
Did you?
No, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
That was the assistant chief from the fire department reporting on the solar farm.
Could you repeat it?
They had their instructions last month. And the panels can't burn.
I'm sorry?
The panels cannot burn, and they can shut the field off from outside the fence.
The panels cannot burn.
Right.
Okay. And they can shut the field off from which point?
Outside the fence.
And who is the main person responsible? God forbid, again, like I said, God forbid there is a fire. 911, but is there somebody else within the town that I should be calling immediately? This is something that affects.
That's the only number if there's a fire, 911.
Okay, and I just want to make it clear, this is something that affects me more than anybody else that I know of on this meeting, unless somebody else lives over on Arena Court. I view these panels every single day. I know what's going on that field. I know that it has not been mowed, and I want to go on record as saying Delaware River Solar is not a good neighbor to the town of Tustin. I don't understand why they're being turned on when they're not in 100% full compliance after they've proven that they will not, or they'll do stuff on the cheap, it's 3-foot Christmas trees, not even 3-foot Christmas trees, that they left on the side of the road for weeks before they were actually planted, which is why half of them died.
No, they died. They died because they planted them in July.
Well, they died also because they were sitting for weeks on the side of the road. They have not cleared their mess. It's absolutely disgusting. Come by and take a look because it doesn't look good.
Well, I was up there the other day and I see it's all graded and seeded.
But did you see the fence that's outside? Did you see the rubbish that's on the side? Have you been, I walk by it every day. I drive by it every day. My children see it every day. We're all in this area. We see it. We're directly across the street from this eyesore. And again, I want to go on record as saying Delaware River Solar is not being a good neighbor to the town. And I strongly, vehemently object to them being turned on until they are in 100% compliance. Because my fear is that they're going to continue sliding back, cutting corners here, cutting corners there to try to get one over again on the town because they already did once by not putting in the right trees, by not putting in the right mowing, by not taking care of the maintenance on the property. Without anything being done, without any studies, without anything, they're trying to get away with as much as they can, as cheaply as they can, and I vehemently object. The reason they want to be turned on is they're losing money. Let them lose money until they come into 100% compliance and are being held to their agreement. From what it sounds like, from what you're telling me, they didn't abide by the agreement. They're in breach of their contract with the town. Why would they be? If I hired a contractor and he's in breach of contract, he's not getting paid. He's not getting any benefit until he comes into compliance with the contract. Why is that not being adhered to here? I understand there's money in escrow. That does nothing with respect to the mowing. That does nothing with respect to ensuring the proper trees are being planted, ensuring the proper barriers are being put up.
That's what the $20,000 is for, to make sure the trees are right.
I understand that there's 20,000, but that doesn't also take into account the labor that it will take to install those trees, that if they don't put it, it's going to have to come out of the town's pocket. The maintenance, the mowing. So I just want to go on record as putting that in. And until I see all of the records, there's nothing, like I said, I've asked for them, Crystal, I'd appreciate it. You can even send them, as I've said, on a rolling basis. Whatever you have, send it to me.
Lisa, the full project of the trees is $40-some thousand.
The cost of the trees, correct, yeah.
That's including the planting.
Okay, but why is but I don't know. Exactly. It's been over a year that they broke ground. Why weren't these put in before they broke ground? Why, and by the way, can I just ask, as part of the planning process that you all approved, did you all approve there was a forest line of trees that they're now replacing with 3-foot Christmas trees that was there beforehand? Did you all approve them taking out those mature trees that had nothing wrong with them? They were tall.
That was never mentioned one way or the other.
Did anybody go out to the site and look at the site before you all approved this or see pictures? Because I have pictures of that particular location prior to any solar farm being put up there. And there is a line of mature, tall trees that were cut down for no explicable reason. And now they're being replaced with 3-foot Christmas trees.
Replaced with 8 to 10 foot trees.
I'm sorry?
8 to 10 foot trees.
And how tall will those trees grow to?
50 feet.
And how long is it? Okay. Like I said, I just want to go on record as saying that Delaware River Solar is not a good neighbor, and I strongly object to them going live, to them being turned on without being in 100% compliance with the town's contract with them, with the requirements imposed upon them to get that lease.
And they should be tax exempt.
And I also I think that maybe somebody should be talking to the tax authorities and advising them that they are getting a tax exemption on land that they're choosing not to be in compliance with. If they're not in compliance with that, what else aren't they in compliance with?
Then you'd have to
The
get
simplest
the
thing
IDA.
was the trees. You know, it also raises the question of if they're gonna cut corners on trees, what else are they cutting corners on?
That we have no control over. That's not
What
our
are the
property.
safety measures are they cutting corners on?
That's the electrical inspector.
And whose control is that? The buildings department? You shouldn't have approved it. If you don't have control over this, it shouldn't have been approved.
When you build a house, we don't control anything.
Who has control over that?
Building inspector.
But the house does not have the potential to affect other neighbors in the sense that it could blow up. That can blow up. Okay, that can catch fire. Why do they have to mow? If it's not gonna catch fire, then why mow? What's the importance of mowing? What's the importance of keeping that grass short?
I can't answer that question for you. I don't build solar fields.
But you approved it.
Why didn't you put it in his backyard?
Why wasn't it put in your neighborhood? Why was it chosen? Why was this location chosen? That was part of the planning process, wasn't it? You're the planning board. That was part of the planning board.
We don't pick location.
No, but you approved it. Why was that location, that should have been, was that a question that was asked by the planning board? Why is that location being chosen?
Because it was near a substation.
It was near a substation. What about the residents nearby? Was that considered? No. It wasn't.
But the residents were all notified and they all came to the public hearing.
We were notified. I was notified.
Again, when I purchased my home, nobody, not a single individual from the town told me, hey, by the way, in a couple of months, there's going to be a solar farm right down the road from you.
The people that owns your house were at the public hearing.
But when they broke ground, I should have been notified. That's
When the town, when Delaware River Solar broke ground, I should have been notified. When I closed on my house, I should have been notified. The town was aware there is a new owner. There was a transaction on the property. The fact that the town did not notify the new owner, in addition to that, as I said, I have been told, you keep saying that everyone's been, you know what, I'll just leave it at that.
It was
We're just
probably
cat-
your realtor, Lisa. I really don't think your realtor was being upfront with you. You know, just.
Well, let me,
Did you ever check with
here's
them?
the, I understand, but when the town is aware, this is a major project that is going on, okay? This is a small town, a major power plant that is being placed there. The town, upon closing, and I gotta also say that the closing took some time, and there were a lot of people in the town that knew I was purchasing this property. Not a single person said, oh, by the way, just to let you know, in July, they're gonna start breaking ground on the solar farm. Are there objections? Because there still would have been time for objections to have been filed. I knew nothing about solar farms till I saw the panels. So my issue is the town has kept quiet for whatever reason. Nobody has been telling me. I've tried to get answers. I'm being stonewalled. I've called the town immediately. I've been stonewalled. I'm getting no answers from anybody, which is not fair. I have tried my best to be a very good neighbor in the town. I have tried my best to be upfront and honest with everybody, and I keep getting stonewalled. Maybe perhaps I should act just as Delaware River Solar and not uphold agreements with the town that I may have. Maybe if the town has no recourse for against a multi-million-dollar company and just hands out this type of stuff, maybe I'll do the same. Nobody's giving me answers.
There are no answers.
And by the way, there were no signs. By the way, also with construction, there were no signs up ever. And there still isn't really a sign. There's a tiny little piece of paper put up against the fencing. So you have to drive up to the fencing, get out of your car, and look at the sign that's all faded to see what it says and what it is.
Not a professional power company.
So I don't understand why the town is hiding or was hiding the start of the construction, why there wasn't any signage, why the town didn't require this, why the planning board didn't say, well, gee, did you contact all of the homeowners? Oh, gee, you know what? There's a new homeowner that's coming into the area. Maybe they should know about this.
That's not.
You know,
our-
and nobody apparently.
That's not our
considered the property
responsibility.
values. That's not the town's responsibility to notify
No,
residents.
that's not
of
the
major projects?
planning board, excuse me. That is not, like Ed has reiterated, and I appreciate what you're saying, and Ed is the chairperson. I am a board member, and that is not the job of the planning board to notify anybody unless there was a public hearing. Everybody was notified. It's been a 2-year process. And we really appreciate what you're saying because we hear what you're saying, but like Ed said, it is out of our hands. You have to take it to the building inspector because that's what it is. And there's nothing we can do. The only thing we can do is what we did in the past. And yes, I agree, those trees were not the right height. It is being corrected and everything is being done according to what we as the planning board, the last meeting, asked them to do. Beyond that, there's nothing we can do. We as a planning board did our due diligence to do what was presented, what is needed to be done, and what was asked of us to do, and we had asked them, the solar company, to do. And yes, if you were not on that meeting the last time, you would have heard a very, very lively discussion on what transpired. They are following up with what needs to be done, along with the fact that they're giving us in escrow an additional $20,000 to hold on to, which I don't think you were here when it was discussed in the beginning of the meeting, just in case any of those trees or anything like that needs to be replaced. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that I feel bad, and this is my personal opinion, that you were not informed by your realtor. And as a homeowner in Narrowsburg and as a planning board member and so on, I would do my due diligence when I buy a house. I would go around the neighborhood and ask people. Now that is unfortunate that this has happened to you, but really it's out of our hands and it's really up to the building inspector. And I appreciate what you're saying and you have a right to be upset, but really there's nothing we can do.
I just want to, I appreciate your comments. However, with respect to the due diligence argument, which has been brought up to me before, I did do my due diligence. I did do a search of the property. I did do a search of the land. I did speak to neighbors. I did speak to people. I spoke to the homeowner, the previous homeowners, and I specifically asked about that location and what was being done. It's just open field. Nothing's being done on that. I specifically did a search of this road, and I can tell you that Delaware River Solar, when they advertised that they were doing this, they put the wrong street down. I have the evidence to show that when they advertised it in the River Reporter, it was the wrong street. So no matter of due diligence would have shown that that was going on, okay? And yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing. When I speak to people in town and when I speak to other residents that are not within a close proximity to this, nobody knows about this project. Everybody keeps saying, where is that? I can't believe it's there. I've never heard of this. And these are longtime town residents that we've spoken to. So I did do my due diligence, and I take severe exception to that. And I actually am insulted with the insinuation that I didn't do my due diligence, because I did.
When you said it was advertised on the.
And by the way, if this was 2 years, oh, can I just ask one question? As part of your planning board and your approval process and the board's due diligence, did the board receive an environmental impact?
I couldn't hear the end of your question.
She asked about the environmental impact.
Yes, they did.
Yes, I got kicked off the meeting. I was kicked off the meeting, so I'm sorry. Was there a property value study and environmental impact study?
You let me answer the question? The state does not require an EAF for that. The
They don't
state-
require an environmental impact study.
The state does not require an EAF, only a short CEQA form.
I'm sorry, can you just explain? I'm not familiar with the acronyms. What is an EAF study? Environmental impact study?
Environmental assessment form.
Okay, so the state does not require it. However, you are a planning board for the town. So the town doesn't care about the environmental impact that something would have on the town?
We have to.
You're approving
abide by
projects
what the
without
state-
thinking about what impact it would have?
We have to abide by
No,
what.
no, no,
the
you have to
state
abide
says.
minimally. I understand, however, you have to abide by the minimum standards that the state, an environmental impact study, if it's not required by the state, is
Right.
above and beyond. There is nothing in the law that will say you're not required to impose that requirement on somebody trying to install a power plant in
The
your
state-
town.
The state told us not to do an EAF on it.
The state told,
Everybody in the state, they told them no EAFs on solar fields. Only a short
is it,
CEQA.
no, 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 there's a difference, sir, I'm sorry, there's a difference between it's not required and do not do it. If it's the latter, I would request to have that in writing.
You could call the
I
state,
would request a copy of that.
call the state.
I said, there is a difference between the
Call-
town,
Call
between,
the Department of State and ask them. That's who advises us.
no, sir, my question is, you said the state told you not to do it. My question is very pointed and very exact. Were you told by New York State not to do an environmental impact study, or were you told you are not required to do it? There is a distinct difference between those two statements. Was it,
Okay,
you're not
I think that
required?
at this point, excuse me, Lisa, I think at this point, Ed has advised and answered the question. And the thing is that you're asking us to go on record so that you can probably catch us on saying something. If you have any questions at this point, I think at this point, because we have allowed you enough time to speak, and this is not a public hearing, it's not a public forum or anything like that, and I'm glad that you brought it to our attention, but at this point, I, as a board member, am not going to answer any more questions because it is not a public hearing, and I think Ed has said it, and I think a lot of my colleagues agree, is that you really should bring it up to the building inspector and also what Ed just said.
Ed just told me that the state told him.
I'm not gonna argue anymore, Ed. You know, at this point, as a board member, I think that we should, you know, finish the meeting, and that if you have any other discussion, put it in writing and discuss it with the, building inspector, and call the state. That's what we're advised, we're followed by the state. And the laws and regulations, they make the determination.
I have the record. Understood. So I'm not being allowed to ask questions of the planning board who approved this. Understood. I will make sure that the record is absolutely clear that that's what I'm being told. Again, another stone.
I never said that. I never said that, and I'm not going to engage anything further.
Ed, at this time, is your meeting, are we concluding public comment?
A motion on the floor that we adjourn.
Second.
I'll second that.
Aye.
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 All in favor, all opposed? So carried. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
I just put, I'm sorry.
That was interesting.
Oh.